I think you're muted. I can't hear you. I heard the intro music. Technical difficulties. All right, it's just me. Ben's going to try and figure his stuff out and come back, I assume. Or he's going to abandon me to the wilds. I'll just vamp. Not that anybody's watching yet, but you know. Oh, yes. Hopefully, anybody who is watching is having a fabulous morning. Yeah, just doing.
All right, sorry about that.
Hey, he's back.
Apparently,
Talk.
my computer rebooted overnight, and in the process, my mic was undefaulted.
Ah.
I thought it was fine, but no one was on early for me to test it. I didn't look at the test screen because
no,
I think I'm an asshole. So yeah, man, I didn't hear from anybody this morning, so yeah, I was really worried it's gonna be me talking at nobody. But luckily, Matthew's here.
I did. I popped on. I should have said something, but no, I was busy putzing around.
1 second.
Yep. Ben is.
Oh my gosh. That was not a sneeze. That was me losing a part of my spirit. Holy crap. I think parts of me came out like in vapor form. Jeez. All right.
Yeah, what you got?
What you got? All right, I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about bird pornography. I want to talk about bird lube.
Well, Godspeed, sir.
Once again, if you haven't seen the Mim Bim Bam television show, that joke won't land. What do you got for us, Griffin? I want to talk about bird pornography. No, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. I want to talk about bird lube. We're not doing that either. All right. Let's take a look. We got a winner yesterday in the poll.
Oh.
Hopeful futurism was our vibe.
All right.
And then whatever happened to the man who lost everything is the winner of the titles. I had Journey to the Center, and then in parentheses, The Last Sun, and then of Krypton. And then I had Forever on the Edge of the City, and yes, that is a reference to the first Star Trek episode written by Harlan Ellison. And then Whatever Happened to the Man Who Lost Everything, yes, is also a riff on a I'm Angry at Comic Books Forever Alan Moore story. Old Man Yells at Comics would be his Northern Cherokee name. Just like my dad made mine originally when he went in and had me registered, and they gave me my Northern Cherokee name, which is Kwanjaa, in fact. But he told them they should give my name, Northern Cherokee name, should be Shit's Too Close to House. Which the lovely man who finished our paperwork literally laughed the entire time about it. Every time he would turn and look at me, he would just shake his head and just cackle. And I was like, hey, thanks, Dad, you fucking asshole. All right. So that's what won. So I went in and I gave it, since no one was voting for Forever on the Edge of the City, I gave the synopsis of what I was thinking, which is that I don't know if you've been keeping up at all with current JSA, but they have a member who showed up, and it was a character named Legionnaire,
Okay.
who apparently is a riff on a actual Golden Age character. And then that person reveals themselves to be Mordru,
Oh.
a very young Mordru, and much in the vein of Iron Lad, is like, you have to help me not become Mordru. Like, this has to stop. And then Legionnaire eventually goes to the 30th century with the Legion at the end of the story after they beat Mordru. I like the idea of this having all been continuing in the 30th century. Since they chose like the JSA like originals thing as like the kind of the primary like kind of I'm trying to figure out here. Vibe was hopeful futurism, but like style, I guess. The characters are all going to be involved somehow with the JSA.
Okay.
My kind of feeling is that the JSA, keeping in that John's aesthetic, is bringing together all these heroes, these younger heroes, and like training them, and basically doing what the JSA has been doing for like the last 15 years in comic books.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of mileage to that, and it's something like I think that like the Avengers Academy was trying to do, and for whatever reason it didn't like take off as much as it should have. I lost the thing I was looking at. So it was going to have like Mordru show up, and it was going to like this giant hole was going to open up of red sky, and you were going to see Legionnaires floating in it, dead or unconscious, and it was going to be like old Mordru, like this Mordru, the crazy Mordru that I love, this crazy old man wizard from space who is just fucking bonkers crazy looking there, show up and having ripped the hole in hypertime, chasing his youngest version, and he was going to use his abilities to cut battery park off in like a, oh no, it's game development, we're doing RPG stuff. I'm sorry, it says software and game development, but yeah, we're not doing software. You're more than welcome to hang out, but yeah, we're doing RPG stuff.
Yep. Thanks for popping in.
Yeah, thanks for popping in. Hopefully you'll stick around. But no, unfortunately, Twitch does not give a RPG game development section. Yeah, we're working on. That's a good question. So what are we working on? We're working on. I'm running a DC game for Extra Life this year. We do Extra Life every year. We've raised, like last year, I think we raised 20 grand.
Something like that. Yeah.
We are the largest. We're the second largest fundraiser for Extra Life in Minnesota. And the only people that beat us are actually a corporate team. We're just a group of assholes. So I am going to be taking a lasers and feeling hack called Powers and Responsibility. So a simple 2-dice system, and we're going to be using it to run a DC game. We have a Discord where we did a bunch of voting. The Discord folks did voting to figure out what they wanted, or at least what they would tolerate me doing this year. So this is kind of we started a couple episodes ago, but we've been working on it. And Colin and Beard aren't here today. So Matt and I are just chit-chatting about it. So the DC game is going to be Whatever Happened to the Man Who Lost Everything. So Matt, can you guess who that character is? Who in the DC universe has lost everything?
Triumph?
It is Triumph. For those who don't know, Triumph, it was a Mark Wade Brian Augustine.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I only caught up with him later on. Well, I mean, I was aware of him vaguely as well. It was that was Justice League Task Force stuff originally, wasn't it?
He originally had a miniseries.
Okay.
Where they revealed the whole, he started the JLA and then got sucked into like a time thing, and everyone forgot him, and he got stuck there for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And when he came out, he was very bitter about it.
Yeah.
Um, Understandably so. So I did a bunch of Triumph reading, and not Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. Um, I like the fact that Neron gave him a candle and would be like, I'll give you whatever I'll give you your years back. And in the end, his friend Ray, and his love interest Gypsy talk him out of it, basically. Well, they don't know he has this. They just talk him out of making a bad decision.
Yeah.
And Gypsy kisses him on the cheek, and he's like, "Oh, hey, finally, this is finally gonna move towards something rather than, pining." And then the saddest fucking part of it happens. They pick up the candle, and they end up burning it because Triumph wasn't going to. So he makes the deal without knowing he made the deal. And he gets his years back. And you know what? Nothing changed. He's still a nobody. And that's why we get the Morrison story where he used the fifth dimensional imp to attack the League. And in the end, he was like, "You guys you took the League away from me. You did all this. You did all that." Because that story, if I remember correctly, is like he used that fifth dimensional imp to cause disasters that the League can't handle. So his like small team that he's put on with, which also had Gypsy and Ray in it,
yep,
like are helping, but it just continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger because this imp doesn't really care. And they end up having to combine Johnny Thunder's imp and this imp, and that's where we get the purple lightning bolt. That's so cool, Jakeem Thunder lightning bolt. And then Triumph got turned to glass and was in the JLA trophy room.
Yes.
Listed as a JLA founder. And Morrison forgot to remove him from the satellite when Prometheus blew it up. Or no, when whoever blew it up. I think it might have been Prometheus.
It was Prometheus, yeah.
I'm retconning that. So my thing is we're current day DC, and Triumph is just his dude. I can't remember his actual character's name. And he, in a very Sentry way, he like wakes up. Like he remembers everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like that he had a son who post his death also gained his powers and kind of went nuts and then disappeared. All this stuff. And he goes to like Gypsy, he goes to Ray, and they don't remember him. There's been so many reboots, so many crises, so many hyper times.
Yeah.
All this stuff. He's just fallen through the cracks of all this. And I'm kind of like reaching back to, there was a story around the time of what was the hyper time thing? Was it just called hyper time? Was it? I can't remember what it was called. It had Extant involved and the GSA.
It was 0 Hour, but
it was 0 Hour. Sorry, I couldn't remember. Around 0 Hour, there was like this whole thing with Hawkman where they combined all the Hawkman versions of Hawkman into one. Because they were like, yeah, you just keep popping up in hyper time and it's different every time. Which was like their way of explaining the writing. So kind of my thought on it was the architects basically come to Triumph.
Oh.
And the archetypes, for those that are unaware, are the writers. It was a Dr. 13 story. Wasn't that what it was? Where they were appeared in that Dr. 13 story?
Yeah.
Which was all characters that had kind of been written out of DC continuity by the architects. Marvel has their version too, called the House of Ideas. Both companies do it, and I actually think it's a really neat idea. The architects come to him and say, "Oh yeah, we you needed something like you weren't going in the direction we needed you to go in." Type of thing. And I kind of want to also use I was watching some clips of wrestling because I've kind of been slowly dipping my toes back into wrestling. And I did enjoy a segment this week with John Moxley and Private Party, where John Moxley's now evil version of the BCC was coming out, and Private Party jumped them because the week before they jumped Private Party and beat them to smithereens. And Moxley says this really good thing before he crushes one guy's hand with a hammer. He says, you guys been here since the beginning, 5 years, and you're in the same goddamn spot you were 5 years ago. So I'm going to give you something. Consider this a gift. I'm going to give you some adversity. I'm going to give you a reason to get up in the morning, some friction. It's friction to hopefully give you the rub. And then he smashes his hand with a hammer. And I was like, I really like this idea of like, you've been spinning your wheels because you haven't had the adversity you need. And with Triumph, I want it to be like, motherfucker, all I've had is adversity. You wrote me as a character that people hated. You basically you Jason Todd, Damian Wayne to me. The difference is those characters like found footing. Both of them had to die first. I want it to be like him then. I've had different thoughts on this. So here's where I need help.
Okay.
Does he go full-blown villain? Because we've seen that, and he's ostensibly a good person. He's just a dick. Like the whole story with him and Gypsy was there was a big fight. I think it was a task force issue, and they're all losing. And he actually contemplates running. He's like, I don't want to die, and I don't want to disappear. I don't want to be forgotten. All these things. That's another thing that keeps popping up in him is like this idea of like his legacy and not, losing it and being forgotten. Because he literally saw time pass. He just couldn't be involved in it.
Yeah.
It was like outside time. So he kind of has this like innate terror of it.
Right.
But he doesn't. He saves her. And he doesn't tell her until much later that he was like, I was going to leave you all to die because I was terrified. And both she and Ray, you think, oh God, they're going to rip him a new one. This is it. This is the bad turning moment.
Yeah.
They say, but you didn't. All of us have been scared like that and had contemplated doing that. You're a hero because you were like, nope, I'm doing this. Whether I die or not, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I've kind of dug that idea about this character who's like, has an actual reason to be kind of a dick. And one of the reasons he does is because he was the guy who put the league together. He was the leader guy. And then he loses everything.
So the Christopher Priest, who wrote most Triumph.
Yeah, he said they leaned into him being a dick. That was the point. They were like, once the people were like, he's a fucking asshole. They're like, good. This is what we're going to write then.
But he said that the reason that he's basically started to go more straight up evil is because he doesn't have a soul anymore.
That was the other thing that, and that's another thing I find so interesting. He didn't get a choice of that.
Nope.
He made the right choice and his friends screwed it up. That to me is also incredibly fascinating. He's a character who keeps making the right decision, but the opposite thing keeps happening to him. Yeah. So my thought is twofold. Is either, does he go straight villain? Does he just go, you know what? This is apparently what you want because you keep doing this to me. If you're really the architects, if you're really the people who are doing this, then you have repeatedly put me in a position to be, to be Dr. Doom, more or less.
Yeah.
And I have tried hard to resist it, but if this is what you want, then fine. Fine. I'll give you what you want. But I also, just us talking now has me with this vibe of what if he goes and the whole adventure is the PCs and Triumph working against the architects. Like it's this bonkers thing where he tells them, like, he goes to the JSA and they literally can't even see him because the architects are just slowly erasing him. So because the PCs are brand new, they can still see him, and he goes, listen, I need your help. Like I know if you look me up on the computer and everything, it's probably either not there or it says a lot of bad things about me. Fine. But I found something. I found that there's these people and they're doing this to all of us. And I want to stop them. And they're going to do everything they can to keep me from stopping them. But you're not, I don't know how to word it, but it's like you're not in the zeitgeist, so they can't touch you yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Which also leads back into this idea of using like the outsiders vibe that I was talking about when I talked about like Solaris Brother I from Earth
Yeah.
3. And that could bring it all the way back around.
Well, now you've got me thinking too, because one of the
I knew I would draw you in.
Well, no, they were never explicitly like, it was never explicitly like this is this, but one of the architects is Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
And Grant Morrison already exists in the DC universe.
Yeah.
And died.
Animal Man, right?
Yes, so he wrote himself into Animal Man, and then after
he got killed.
Then after that, no, John Ostrander pulled him out in was it War of the Gods, that crossover, as like a fill-in Suicide Squad member. And he's explaining to the other members of the team, he's like, well, yeah, once I wrote myself in, then other writers could use me, and they just think he's insane, and delusional. But he's got a computer thing like that he wears, and he can type out stuff and basically affect local reality by writing, like, instead of, like if you were charging at him with a knife, he could be like, King Ginger charges at the writer with a knife, but then slips on a banana peel.
Okay.
And affect, reality in a small way. Not
so he was referred to as the writer.
The writer, yep. And then he gets writer's block and gets killed by an Amazon. But because he's like trying to figure out,
a bestiamorph.
He's like, shit, what happens? And he's dead before he gets a chance to finish his sentence and, affect reality. But again, there's been so many freaking reboots since then. And you've got the architects, but there's the idea of, they're the ones like setting the tone, but there's still people below them, lesser writers in this case.
Well, the architects are just editors, right?
I mean, they weren't, I don't know if they were editors, but they were basically like kind of charged with, setting the direction.
Yeah, they were like the big seven at the time for DC.
Kind of like teeing this stuff up, because it was it was Wade, Morrison, Rucka, and Johns.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like if there's other architects, or not architects necessarily, people below them who could have brought the writer back.
Well, maybe the writer just exists.
Yeah. And is the writer at odds or in agreement with the architects? A fictional character who is also now, or a metafictional character who is now fully fictional.
I'm trying to remember who were the characters in that Doctor 13 miniseries. Who were the other characters involved in that?
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I found it. Anthro, Captain Fear, Genius Jones, Infectious Last, I Vampire, Pyre Mall, and Tracy 13. So what if, I don't think they've done anything with Tracy 13.
She's still around.
So I'm pretty sure we haven't seen anything from those other characters.
Minimally, yeah. Let's see here. I guess she was dating Natasha Irons.
By the way, this is the cover of that miniseries, and I cannot recommend it high enough. For Cliff Chang's art's Cliff
Yeah,
Chang's art's great, but these are all characters that basically have been written out of DC's continuity at that point. And for those that don't know, Doctor 13 is, how would you describe him? He's like the ultimate skeptic.
yes, to a ridiculous degree, honestly, especially
Well,
in
to
his.
the degree of almost making things fake just
Yeah,
by
oh
his
yeah,
belief.
he was basically like the human focused character in Phantom Stranger stories.
Yeah.
So like he's literally like, oh no, we just escaped from a giant, and he's like, well, it was probably this, that, or the other thing. Like he's like, it's like you live in the DC universe.
Yeah. They updated iVampire, made him young. Infectious Last was a member of the Substitute Legion. Anthro, I don't remember what Anthro's from. I know he's like caveman guy.
Yeah, he's like a caveman.
Captain Fear was a pirate
Parrot,
character.
yeah.
I can't remember this guy's name. Who's like a Nazi ape man. I don't remember what was the deal with him was. Jeb Stewart was the ghost of Jeb Stewart inside of a tank in a series called Haunted Tank.
Yeah, GI Combat, baby.
Yeah, GI Combat. I cannot say if anyone's watching this or will watch it in the future, pick this miniseries up. It is so fun. And it's super meta. And this is where the architects, I think, might be their only primary appearance. And the architects are just people, but they all wear masks of the characters they were writing at the time, like Halloween masks. Like, early 80s with the mouth slit that you would cut your tongue on constantly. It's good stuff. So anyway, I want to use if not, I almost, let's just use Dr. 13. I kind of like you because if they're using Tracy for something,
Tracy's floating around and she's got actual powers.
Yeah.
So
she's like a magician, isn't she? Of some type?
Yeah, she's got magical powers.
So Dr. 13. Anyone else you can think of would be a good kind of some ideas. Triumph recruits these characters out of the JSA brownstone where only they can see him as he's slowly being rewritten out of current continuity again. He suggests if they don't believe him, to go with him to the one man who can prove what he's saying. And that would be Dr. 13. I want to use the writer too. I'm just struggling on how to use him.
Yeah, and I'm looking through just to see here. There's less of it at DC, I think, than Marvel, but because it's comics and people just like to do that stuff, there are a lot of creators who have appeared in comics. So you could, I don't know if you wanted to do something with that.
No, but I like the idea of the writer. I'm going to go even further. Although killed in a misadventure with the Suicide Squad, it was revealed that the writer is actually a fifth dimensional imp. Oh. I think that also fits Morrison extremely well.
Well, yeah,
My
and his
idea too is maybe that this imp is also like associates with Dr. 13.
mm,
Upon reaching, did Dr. 13 have a headquarters?
um, let's see here. I don't know that he did, but I want to see what I can find out.
He was an occult investigator.
Yeah.
Also, his last name is 13, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, so the Ghost Breaker.
Um, oh my God, he was once summoned to Gotham City by the GCPD to look into a ghost in Wayne Manor. That is amazing. That is incredible, and I love it. It was a ghost of Hugo Strange. Okay, so no, it doesn't appear so.
Yeah,
Um,
seem like he's got. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what like a good name for like a sanctorum, but like almost anti magic. Um, Science is the first one that pops up, and they're like, actually, the okay, so it was a house of secrets. What if he lived in the house of truths
I don't know.
or the house of facts?
I also kind of like the idea of him actually living in like the House of Secrets or the House of Mystery, and
And not knowing.
we're not even believing any of the shit. Like,
Oh my God, that is amazing too. Yes, I think that's even better. Okay. Um, reaching a
because I think,
um,
yeah, I think the House of
in manifestation of the House of Secrets, where Dr. 13 currently is living. They
oh yeah, because
find
yeah, I
him.
forgot the Secret Six lived there too.
Well, is it the House of Mystery then that instead of the House of Secrets, maybe just the House of Mystery?
Um,
I also look at the House of Secrets and the House of Mysteries as being like so big they exist
well,
simultaneously.
yeah, they do. I mean, we know they like there's overlap with the dreaming and stuff like that. But okay, so the House of Mystery was Justice League Dark's base of operations for a time, and I guess Constantine owned it.
Yeah, they operate out of the Hall of Justice now.
Now, yeah. Um,
So I think it makes sense that that's where they would be, or where he would be. Um, the Forbidden timeline, which is the timeline constructed by the rogue architect.
I guess if you're also doing it in,
It's Dan DiDio. He did it. He's a piece of shit. What do you think about that? The Dan DiDio is the rogue architect, cast out
uh,
by the architects.
I mean, sure.
Do you have someone else in mind?
No, I did. I mean, I don't know if you need to get that specific with it, but yeah.
No, we'll
Uh,
just call it the rogue architect.
but I do like. There's a. I'm just if he's gonna hang out in the House of Mystery, you also have a chance to bring Elvira in if you wanted to.
Is there a DC analog for Elvira?
No, she was just Elvira, straight up Elvira. She was the host of House of Mystery for a while, and then she left. So there is a there. It's just like Don Rickles, and I think Jerry Lewis are technically DC characters. Um, so is Elvira. Because yeah, Goody Rickles, his um, Don Rickles' brother, who is good, uh, recently showed up in a comic.
He showed up where?
It was in the Fire and Ice Smallville series, hosting Smallville's drag brunch because Goody Rickles is a solid drag name.
It is. All right. So the rogue architect comes to Triumph and he tells him, "Hey, you're just not connecting. So we're going to relaunch you." He keeps using these words and he's like, "I don't understand what this means." Well, there's like all he basically gives this very vague like omniverse like, "Hey, we're the guys who make decisions." And he's like, "Oh no, this isn't happening again. Like I am not allowing this." And this is what kind of the onus of the story is. He's like, this architect who says that they're in charge of doing this, um, is like on my trail. So I need to figure out what this is and then confront this person. And um, so I'm almost thinking like the meta plot is like he needs to convince the PCs to be on a team with him.
Okay.
And that like almost solidifies that he is like relevant.
Or even just well, it's sort of like the when you have characters who have just kind of bounced around or whatever, or you get something like um you know Batman the animated series or whatever, where it's like, oh, this is Mr. Freeze now.
Yeah.
Like that hadn't been Mr. Freeze before, but it's like, no, this is just who Mr. Freeze is. So it's like a way to like that definitive story or whatever to kind of reset a character or
So the Ray and Gypsy are at the brownstone.
ah.
And they can see him, but they both are like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like, so then the PCs, there's the doubt of like, is this guy just crazy? Um,
I'm surprised they haven't renamed Gypsy, by the way.
I am too.
I mean,
Have
she
they
hasn't
not
shown up.
renamed her?
They haven't. She hasn't shown up a ton, but
Has
lately,
DC renamed the character Gypsy? No, DC has not renamed Gypsy. Um, oh God, I hate that. We're not calling her Gypsy. Um, Roma. We're just gonna call her Roma. Does that make sense to you? Makes sense to me. That's the non-racist ass version of it. You good with that?
yeah. I mean,
Did I just misspell Gypsy even? It's so racist I can't even spell it correctly. No, I spelled it right. Okay, good. I mean, not good, it's racist. I know what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean.
yes.
Um, Van Stone, they only have a vague recollection that He is a good person at heart. Um, but tends to disappear midway through the conversation. Um, Triumph freaks and points down the hallway. There, a person wearing a flash, an kid's mask, is standing. He flees in terror. Once he's gone, the Roma and Ray don't remember him even existing. This rogue architect should have an almost It Follows vibe. Have you seen It Follows?
I know, but I've heard about it.
I liked, so one of the things I enjoyed about that movie was the idea of like, so this thing's super slow.
Yeah.
Like, it just casually walks, you know. But the fact is, it just keeps showing up, you know. Because Donner and I were having this argument about zombies the other day, because this is the kind of life I live. And I was like, I think Romero zombies are scary because they just keep coming. Like,
yeah.
They don't get tired. They don't go away. They just keep coming. And yeah, they might not be able to break down your walls.
Yeah, and you might get away from a bunch of them, but
if I pound on a wall long enough for years, it will break. So, I mean, their inevitability. That's like the whole, to me, that's like the whole analogy, is there the inevitability of death in a lot of ways. So he's like waiting for them. They come out, the PCs look, I'm sure they'll try to follow. He's outside. He's like kind of having a meltdown. Like he's got a costume on, but it's like a ramshackle version of his original costume.
Okay.
And he's like, I do know a guy. I mean, I know those people. They know me. And it's kind of like, yeah, but they don't, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So he goes to Dr. 13. Dr. 13 is doing the whole question, strings on a chalkboard, except for a fancier version of it. He has an assistant / colleague. You can never spell colleague right. No, I know that's right, but it's spell check. I can't spell, I've realized. The older I've gotten, I can't spell at all.
Yeah.
Who is the writer? So the writer is enjoying this, is enjoying Dr. 13 more or less. The writer knows this stuff's real because the writer can just write things into existence.
Yeah.
But I kind of look at it as like the writer, upon showing back up, is like got bored. And he finds Dr. 13 incredibly entertaining. So I'm thinking like a relationship similar to the two scientist characters in the first Pacific Rim.
Okay.
Kind of like they really do like one another, almost to a romantic fashion, but they just needle each other constantly. Which also kind of has a little bit of the DC Cain and Abel vibe, which was involved in the House of Secrets and Mysteries to begin with. I mean, maybe even the ghosts of Cain and Abel are in the house.
They hang around. They're still around a lot of the time, And we know that.
What if they were like the butlers?
Well, because Cain is House of uh, Mystery, and then Abel is House of Secrets.
I don't think Abel's in the House of Secrets anymore.
Okay.
I mean, we can look. I mean,
Well, I mean,
we have the entirety of the
Cain is
internet at
gonna
our
Cain will kill him
disposal.
anyway, but
Well, I love the idea of him killing him in front of the PCs, like over and over
he comes
again.
right back. Uh,
Where are
I will be
Cain
right back. I
and
just gotta
Abel
check on a cat here. One sec.
in the current DC universe? Okay, okay, that makes sense. Um, across this cemetery from the House of Secrets headquarters of the Secret Six. All right.
All right.
So apparently, the House of Secrets is in Kentucky, rural Kentucky,
Yes.
and it's across the cemetery from the House of Mystery.
Oh, okay.
So I'm saying like once a day, like, and we're gonna have it like so Abel is walking up to like the door when the PCs arrive, and he's like, "Oh, hello, I'm Abel. I'm from over there." And they're like, "Okay." Um, do we know which house? Did you say you know that one is the House of Secrets and the other is the
Cain is House of Mystery.
King's Smith? Okay. Um, um, in rural Kentucky, he knocks on the door, and Kane opens the door with like a sledgehammer and just sledges him to death right in the head.
Well,
PCs are like, "Oh my god!"
the
Um, and then he like looks at Triumph, and he's like wiping blood off of himself, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, you've been expected. Um, I assume these are your guests. Let me get cleaned up, and I'll get you something to eat or drink. They're in the study. I gotta clean this up." And like they stand there, they watch him like drag Abel's body out into the front plot, like the last plot of the cemetery across the road, because the cemetery is like right in the middle, and there's an empty grave, and he just rolls him in there. And if they notice, there's like, if they pay attention, there's a ton of plots that are close that all have Abel's name on them. Like this happens like every day.
every day, yeah.
Every day he kills him and throws him in there, and every day he gets up. Which I think was a running joke in the remake of Sabrina as well at one point. I think one of the sisters killed the other one like all the time, like as a punishment, and would bring her back. Or that she couldn't die, so she would just wake up buried alive. Um bah, 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 bah.
The other thing I like about it too is that Cain and Abel's, at least their appearances, are based on Len Wein and
Mhm.
um, Joe Orlando's assistant, Airfield. So I mean, they've got that metafictional thing going on anyway.
Yeah, I I'm very much enjoying this. When he rings the doorbell, Kane answers and smashes his head with a sledgehammer. Um, he um the PCs are told by Kane that they are expected and to head to the study where um, they they will find who they are looking for. He will join with refreshments once he has cleaned up. I also love the idea of this happening like every day, and Doctor 13 playing it off of it as if it's some type of theatrics between two brothers.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is simply these two are just expert thespians
Yeah, I
and
like the idea.
special effects
Yeah,
enthusiasts.
I kind of like the idea of like almost like he explains it away as like, well, yeah, they're running like this bed and breakfast sort of, boarding house thing, and they want to, keep the guests entertained or
Yeah. They squabble like the two scientists from Pacific Rim. Um, the writer particularly gleeful about all of 13's long-winded, almost Rube Goldbergian explanations of events. That being said, they too are more than aware of the architects. Um, okay, so how I'm trying to think what the next step would be. Um, let's say it is revealed that the House of Secrets and the House of Mystery are but two areas in the multiverse that are hard for the architects to successfully affect.
yeah, I like the idea of them as sort of like um multiversal constants. Like the House of Mystery and the House of Secrets on any given universe is the same one in every.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get in, like, you could technically, yeah, it could be like, oh, the extremists are, they've went to the House of Mystery on their world, and it's the same one, So inside of it, you can encounter beings from
Yeah.
any reality.
So what would other omniversal constants would include, but are not limited to, Rock of Eternity,
Okay, yeah, that's right. It is, isn't it?
The Bleed,
The blade exists between.
So I'm thinking of like, but it can be entered through by any
Yeah,
omniversal.
I think if you enter the bleed, it's always the same bleed.
Yeah. So the Rock of Eternity, the Bleed, House of Mystery, House of Secrets, the Dreaming.
Yeah, I think that's been implied. I don't know if there's anything else that I know of off the top of my head.
Hell.
Um,
I would assume heaven and hell, since they're
maybe.
all since they're all three connected.
Yeah. Well, and then so limbo.
I don't know much about DC's Limbo.
Well, I mean, it depends on who's writing it, but I mean, the main thing I know from is Animal Man, and that's where all the forgotten characters exist.
What about the green and the red and the black? Those are like not places, right? They're
No, those are
like
no.
entities almost.
Yeah, or like a state of being.
Would
It's
those be then? But they're like almost impossible to reach.
like you can tap
Oh,
in.
the source wall.
Yeah, it's an elemental unit.
Tofu, I know you're probably not here, but did you think you'd ever get accidentally drop into a stream that's talking about like metaphysical realms in DC universe and how what is an omniversal constant?
Um, so the green is an elemental force.
Yeah, so it's not a place; it's an
It's
actual.
not a place. It's a force.
Yeah. But it would be omniversal because I
It's
think the green exists in every part of the
Yeah,
omniverse.
I guess I don't know if you're tapping into the same green across realities, or if each
Or
has.
yeah, it could be self-contained since it's an entity and not a
Yeah, because
actual.
there's the parliament of trees and the parliament of limbs and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, we'll cut that one out. One's easy to remove. Anything else? Any other like very important? Well, see, something weird like Nanda Parbat might also be one.
It could be.
See,
Yeah.
I'm always like my brain was going, oh, Slaughter Swamp, but I'm thinking of Marvel because that's where Swamp thing lives there, not Man Thing.
Slaughter Swamp is Solomon Grundy.
I thought that's also where Swamp Thing was out of.
Oh,
Because if I remember right, isn't Slaughter Swamp outside Gotham?
yeah. Yeah, that Swamp Thing is just like in the Everglades.
Oh, but he can just travel in a swamp. That's why.
Yeah, you can just go to swamps.
Because I remember he's been in some Batman stories.
Yes, yes.
I got lost in what we were doing. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we got
The brain hiccup so hard right there. I have no idea what I'm even looking at.
Yeah, I think we've got all of our different multiversal constant locations that you would need. I mean, I guess if you wanted to, dive in, you could maybe say the Oblivion Bar if you wanted to, but
I do like the Oblivion Bar a lot.
I don't think it was ever necessarily established as a multiversal constant, but that could be fun. There's no reason it couldn't be, I guess.
Okay. So here's my thing. I'm thinking I can actually get to where I originally wanted to get with the whole Brother Eye Solaris base by like saying the architects are kind of weak in these spots, right?
Yeah.
So one of these spots, so Triumph is like the bleed is like it's basically an area you can reach from everywhere, including like the Phantom Zone. the Ghost Zone, all of these places, and it's full of junk from
Yeah.
from everywhere in the Omniverse.
Well, that's I mean that's Limbo. Limbo kind of works the same in the DC universe as it does in like the Loki TV series.
I kind of think of it like I know you're not a huge D&D person, but like the Astral Sea
Okay.
in D&D is like it's full of just floating dead gods that people build cities on, because like when gods run out of followers and are barely remembered, they just fall into the Astral Sea and float.
Ah.
Um and like the Githyanki built cities on dead gods, which is fucking awesome to even contemplate. But it's full of all these things, but it's also like borders all of these different planes.
Yeah.
It like touches the prime material plane. It touches the plane of elemental eve or of all the elemental planes. It touches all these gate towns, which are the gate towns are these places on the edge of these different planes that you can use to go to places like Sigil, which is the absolute center of the multiverse. So I like this idea of the bleed being that, like you said, the in between.
Yeah.
But like especially places like Limbo, but up directly against the bleed.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So um okay, where were we? Okay, Dr. 13 and the writer corroborate Triumph's story as he leaves to rest after Kane arrives with tea and crumpets. I can't remember. Does Kane actively try to kill other people, or is it just Abel?
I think he just kills Abel because the rest of the time it's like I'm going to tell stories and
Um,
yeah, he's a host.
yeah. Okay.
Um, I also you've got a fun tool in the writer in that if you need to do stuff, he could just be like the writer writes some he could write something and basically make all of the characters know a thing or
So
understand
that's what I kind of want to do is like that Kane poisons them, and then the writer like unwrites it as they start to get sick, and Kane's like, sorry, sorry, sorry. I can't even help it. Like
it.
this is who I am. I mean,
or
I'm
or
the first murderer. That's what I do.
or it could even just be like, yeah, he was like, oh shit, I mixed up the
Yeah.
the tea bags. That was supposed to be for my brother.
Kane brings
Yeah, I could literally just be
tea,
oh, the writer,
crumpets.
you know.
If the PCs eat or drink, they are poisoned and begin to die. The writer simply rewrites this and gleefully admonishes Kane, who sheepishly apologizes, saying those bags were for my brother. Um,
But actually, I am going to have to dip here.
yeah, I think we're on such a good vibe here, Matt. I don't want to continue without you.
Okay. Yeah, we can pick it up next time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're having fun with this, but one thing
Oh yeah. No,
I want to
yeah.
pass by you
I like
is
talking.
if
I also like to hear you. Add your own or take it. Run with it and whatever. So.
I would be interested to see if you would be interested,
Mhm.
and if I got a feeling this is going to go well. All right.
Okay.
if it does, and I decide to come back to this,
Hmm.
would you be interested in either playing or maybe even running this?
Yeah.
Like we could continue to like bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
Like I eventually would want to do something like use this system and like again I want the PCs in the end to basically be the outsiders, but it wants to be almost like a planetary-esque outsiders. I think we
Okay.
talked about this a little bit last time about like them basing in the bleed. And that there's an outsiders book right now with Batwoman and Lucius
Yeah.
Fox's son and the drummer from Planetary, like looking into weird stuff in the DC universe, which I'm kind of all about.
Yeah.
Um, I love Planetary. I think it's a. I wish the writer didn't turn out to be such a scumbag. Um, but I like the idea of them being that, and I really, 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 and I know I've said it a couple times now. I love the ending of it being Batman and Superman on this satellite and them basically telling the PCs, we need your help. Superman leaving and Batman saying, the real reason we need your help is that there's a mole inside the league. And it could be any of us, including myself. I need people outside. Because I always love Batman and the Outsiders. So I like the idea that these PCs are outside of things.
Yeah.
And then we can do weird, fun stuff like this.
Oh yeah. And it
Um,
even, I mean, it even opens up. It's like, well, yeah, you can go mess with a different universe or
yeah,
something.
you could do stuff with the Marvel universe very easily because it's canonized that the
Yeah.
bleed exists in the Marvel universe. Also, that very much, I believe they've gone so far as to say it at one point that Impossible Man and Mr. Mxyzptlk, if they're not the same person, they're siblings.
um, John Byrne at least tried to establish them as the same uh, guy.
It probably explains why I like that so much, the fact that it was a Byrne thing.
But I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's not the sort of thing they're gonna pull on a ton. And the
But
fantastic
we can because we're not beholden to shareholders.
that's true. The
We can do whatever
Fantastic
we want.
Four that version of the Possible Man encounters is legally distinct, but obviously them. But even that, you get into the there's the whole stuff with Cyborg Superman where he was based. I mean, that was a Fantastic Four
Yeah.
analog. So
Yeah. I love that idea, like I said, of them being like omniversal problem solvers, basically. And it's what I was going to do with the Marvel multiverse game. Um, maybe we'll get to that eventually too, but this has kind of got my attention in the fact that it's a 2 dice system.
yeah,
We can kind of go wild with it. Um,
I might have
and I
to.
think going very, very meta at the very beginning. Like Beard was telling me how much he was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to play in this. And I was like, it's fucking comics. How do you not want to play? Well, when you guys were talking about DC, I got real lost. And it was almost like you guys were saying words that I didn't understand. And I was
Yeah,
like, come on, man. The game won't be that though. That's the great and powerful Oz is behind the curtain. You know, don't let Kevin Sullivan pulling a monkey and cackling wildly put you off of us doing some fun stuff, man.
um, before I drop,
Well, we're
there
just
is
gonna end. Where can
okay.
people find you?
Oh well, you can find me here mostly, and then every other Tuesday from the Dave Winter channel for Chop and Chop. But no, this is Danny and I just finished watching because I think it
Happy
was on.
belated birthday to Danny. Please tell her.
Yes, I will let her know. It was on AMC originally, and then now it's on Netflix. But it's Kevin Can Fuck Himself is the show,
Okay.
and it's kind of um, playing with the schlubby kind of jerky fat guy with a hot
Beautiful wife.
wife
Yeah.
sort of thing. But it's like, what would it actually be like to live with somebody like that? To be married to somebody like that? So you'll have like scenes where it's your standard sitcom, like 3 camera setup, and everybody's in like sitcom mode, and there's the laugh track and the lighting, and all that stuff. And then when this Kevin character is gone, or the wife like goes into another room, it's shot like single camera, like drama style, and it's basically her trying to like figure out what the fuck to do with her life,
Have you seen the
deal
trailers
with
for?
this,
Have
and
you?
just the idea of characters existing. It's like,
Yeah.
when different writers like, yeah, this character when they're written by so and so is not the same. And they touched on it in again, we'll go back to Animal Man. Um, when in that he's like, well, I don't ever do anything with the when I'm with the Justice League. Like, I'm just around in the background. And he's like, oh yeah, because somebody else is writing you there.
Have you seen the trailers for Crazy House?
No.
Look that up. It's Nick
Okay.
Frost, and
Mm.
it's definitely like looks like a 80s sitcom until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it looks insane. Like they list all the things that are in that movie they can't show. Like animal mutilation, necrophilia. It's just like this running list of horrible things. Um, at one point, one of the people who's seen it calls it edgelord fantasy. Um, I am like all about this. It looks insane. So that kind of immediately, it's a way more gonzo than what you're talking about, but it's
Yeah.
also the thing of like schlubby sitcom dad, because the wife in it is not Christina Applegate. It's the woman from Clueless. I can't think of her name all of a sudden.
Alicia Silverstone.
Who's done a lot of great horror stuff the last couple of
Hmm.
years. Yeah, she's the wife. And you're like, really? I love Nick Frost, but come on, buddy. Plus, he's got like big fake front teeth and has a really like weird, gross voice. Yeah, it looks great. Anyway, I will be back here Tuesday. It's a Mang day.
Nice.
Um, I don't know what else this week. Things are in flux at my house right now, so I don't
Yeah,
know
you
what
got
else
a
to
lot
talk
going
about.
on. It's fine. You take
But
take time for you, and
I'm trying to
you know,
figure it out.
yeah.
It sounds like things are gonna turn out pretty good, but I won't know until they do turn out pretty good.
Well,
So
that's yeah. You don't know, and I understand. Like, yep. It looks like it's going to be all right, but I'm not going to put my
yeah,
all my eggs in this basket yet. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, really, in all honesty, it could turn out very good. We'll see
Well,
what happens.
and I hope it does for you, man. That'd be
I,
great. So,
from your voice to the big GAWWD's ears. Um,
GAWD.
all right, folks. We'll see you later. Matt, hang on a little bit when you're off. I want to talk to you.
All right.
All right. Bye.